Hi everybody, this is Salty Pete from the 3 Count, and we're doing a live-ish video review of WrestleMania 30. With me, Aaron Golden, founder, creator, Jeff Jarrett of Living Myth Media.
Really? Jeff Jarrett.
He has a new promotion now.
So does Billy Corgan. Yeah.
I withdraw my comment. Well, we're off to a smashing start.
Yeah. Sort of like WrestleMania 30 in and of itself.
What a transition!
I know! That was subtly done.
That was very, very good.
Thank
Layered.
you.
So, the first match, as so cleverly alluded to, was a 4-way tag match.
Yeah, on the pre-show.
On the pre-show, on the network,
you know,
which you can't get in Canada. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Also, you know, I think it's important to note that the tag titles were not defended at WrestleMania proper. They were on the pre-show with the thrown together teams after, you know, a year really of really, really good tag matches.
To be fair, 2 of those teams they dress similar, and 3 of them have their own music. I mean, Ryback, they don't even really have a name.
Yeah.
But the Real Americans, a legit team. The Usos, very legit team.
Oh yeah, totally.
The third guy's have a bull. I'm very entertained by him.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, he did really well in the Royal Rumble.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
It was unannounced, or at least announced very late. That was going to be an elimination tag.
Yeah.
Not a one fall to a finish, and it was quite good.
Yeah. It was not offensive. It got the point across. The action was fairly fast. I thought Ryback actually got hurt during one of the spots, but by and large, it was it's shockingly entertaining match.
It's the perfect example of what a pre-show match should be.
Yes.
You have 8 guys in there, so nobody's ever tired.
Yep.
And elimination, so it keeps it's quick and it keeps the interest narrowed.
Yeah.
And yeah.
My only problem was, it's for an actual major title, and that should be on the actual card.
I agree, but I mean, the US and IC title have been on the pre-show a million times by now. My problem is the whole purpose of a match on a pre-show is a hard sell.
Yeah.
Oh, the action's going to be like this all night, make sure you buy it. Exclusively on the network.
Yeah.
That if you own, you're going to watch Mania for free anyway.
Yeah.
So the logic kind of eludes me on that one.
It's kind of like the booking in general.
Oh, that's not fair. it's somewhat fair.
Yeah.
Well, let's proceed to that. So the champs retain and the crowd goes mild. The show starts.
Well, no, because I mean the big thing with the match wasn't even the match itself.
Right, of course,
it was the end of the match with the Real Americans breaking up and Antonio Cesaro apparently winning the catchphrase that goes with it.
I'm upset that Hogan didn't come up for that.
So
I was really expecting Zeb Coulter to get a punch in the face, one Real American to another. Mm-hmm. But, what can you do?
What can you do? I mean, we've got a whole promo thing that happened next.
And what a promo thing it was. Hogan comes out, there's much cheering.
Yeah.
Says, "Oh, I love being back here in the Silverdome." Not the name of the arena.
Yeah.
The crowd at this point turned on Mr. Hogan very quickly.
So Austin came out to save the segment, called Hogan out on his shit.
Multiple times.
And then also got a little bit confuddled.
Confuddled?
Confuddled, just stumbling over words. It had been a while since he's really, had to cut a promo in front of a live audience, and I think it kind of got to him. And, but, by and large, it was very entertaining.
Then People's Champion, The Rock, came out, and he was top form. He was used to being in front of people. His charisma was through the roof. All in all, another really good segment. I was kind of worried about a talking segment opening up a Mania.
Yeah.
Usually you have your America the Beautiful and then a match.
Yeah.
And this went on for a while.
It went on for a while, but it was entertaining. I mean, you had the Hogan flub, which, is entertaining not in the way that they intended, but the 3 of them managed to save it. I mean, you've got 3 of the biggest stars the business has ever had. All of them, wildly charismatic. And they did what they were supposed to do. They popped the crowd, set the tone.
They're all such pros that by time that flub had happened, the other 2 guys immediately had promo responses for it and got the crowd back on their side, huge. And everyone was super, super hot by the end of that. We got Triple H in the first match of the night. Would you care to describe his outfit?
Shao Kahn?
It was Shao Kahn.
He was Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat. He was the final boss of Mortal Kombat. And it was great. If that does not become a meme, I will be severely disappointed.
It absolutely should. He had Ric Flair's daughter as a slave girl.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Charlotte was the one.
Charlotte was...
Yeah, one
wow,
of those
I was going to have to go back and rewatch that, because I'm a big fan of NXT, and I totally missed that.
Yeah, I think apparently the other ones were NXT girls too, but no, this is what I see on the internet. I research things, I don't actually recognize stuff and see it well.
I honestly, I wasn't really paying attention to the slave girls. I was paying attention to Shao Kahn, who was right the hell there. You know, we kept being like, we kept waiting for him to cut a promo and just be like, "You are pathetic. That was a joke. You are sad." Like,
and that's where the meme part's gonna come in.
Yeah,
definitely.
He had the hammer and everything. It was just.
He probably has him and Taker.
Yeah.
1-2 for extravagant entrances. They try and do it with Cena a couple times, the UFO and driving the car, and it always feels really cheap and lame. But Triple H knows where his bread is buttered.
Well, it's funny because he gets two entrances. He gets the Shao Kahn entrance, and then he breaks out into classic Triple H. Not the My Time stuff, but like the old I'm the game.
Yeah. Not to be confused with King of Kings, which is his entrance for promos.
Yes.
Gets confusing.
Yeah, guy has a few too many entrance themes. Steph was,
confusingly dressed.
Yes.
I'm not sure what she was going for.
Neither am I.
It was some sort of like melting bow tie and vinyl shorts and power suit top
thing. It's not a good look.
No.
It's just kind of there. Also, the heels sort of made it look like she was going to get herself hurt a little bit later, but we'll get to that.
So there was a match attached to this entrance.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, God.
I will say this was, spoilers for the rest of it, my match of the night, I think, in terms of emotion and work rate and all of the stuff that I watch wrestling for. This was number one.
The psychology of it was fantastic.
Really good chemistry between the two of them, which I assumed they would have. Triple H is a phenomenal wrestler when it comes to being in the right place at the right time and never messing much up and being able to cover. He doesn't really have weaknesses. I mean, ironically enough, he is the B+ player he always talks about.
Yeah, he is honestly, he is the best B+ player. And he slimmed down a lot, which means his mobility is up again. So this was, I think, the best I've seen him since like 2000, 2001. Like, he looked great. Just everything was very, very crisp. Everything was very solid. His offense, though, remains very, very knee-based. So we kept joking about how if Bryan would just attack the knee, you would destroy all of his offense.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Worked the shoulder really well the whole time. A lot of interesting moves.
Yeah.
Some I didn't know were actually wrestling moves. It looked like a lot of the time Triple H would just grab his arm and Bryan would just take a bump on his face.
Yeah.
And then his shoulder hurts, which, fair enough. It worked. It looked good.
A lot of psychology, just a lot of build in this match, and they really did work that shoulder, and they made it look like Bryan was doomed. The crowd, looked like they were going to go apocalyptic when that pedigree hit. And Bryan kicking out of the pedigree is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of like Undertaker matches as of late, where you never really doubt the conclusion, but the journey makes you believe just a little bit, and that gets you very, very worried and pulls you in, and that's the magic of a big show like WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But the lock of the week stood, and Bryan won and moved on, had a post-match attack. Chair shot to
the
shoulder.
ring post and the shoulder.
Right.
And,
so, a little bit of a beatdown, foreshadowing things to come.
And, to just sort of build tension for what would have been like the shittiest title match in the history of WrestleMania.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it was The Shield?
Right.
versus the Old Age Outlaws with their king.
So I went out for a cigarette immediately after the Triple H match.
So you probably missed this one. Because
I came back in-
giant goddamn squad.
I came back into the room thinking that it was still the entrance music that was playing, and they were taking a really long time to walk through tons of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the music after the match.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you explain what happened, and I'm going to sit here and drink a glass of water.
All right, so the Old Age Outlaws are walking down the entrance ramp, and the Road Dogg starts doing his thing, and then the Shield music just cuts in.
Excellent.
Shield's got masks now because they're faces, so they have merch. And they hop into the ring, and Kane sort of comes down and does his thing, and then they end up charging. The match never really is a tag match, it's just a series of spots. The Outlaws get like no offense, Kane gets no offense. It's just, we're gonna fucking slaughter these guys and fuck them. And
break their back and make them humble.
yeah, and that's exactly what happened. It was just an absolute slaughter from start to finish. Shield hit a whole whack of really cool spots. We got a couple of Superman punches. Remember that thing from the Elimination Chamber where Roman Reigns like ran around the ring on the outside and jumped up and hit like the big fist? Mm-hmm. He did that to both Outlaws with his foot. It was awesome.
I don't even know how that would work. I'm going to have to go back and watch this match.
Yeah, like we ended up just being like, wow, this is awesome. And then the match was over, and it was like, I have no problems with this.
Yeah, I mean, hearing the music when I came back, I was a little disappointed because I would say the Shield, as far as a three-man group, has some of the nicest offense in the business right now.
Yeah. Oh, the Shield's fantastic.
But particularly in offense. I mean, Ambrose is a phenomenal seller. He can take offense with the best of them, but Rollins is crazy.
Yeah.
Reigns has a lot of really unique moves.
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose has the DDT, which I really like.
Yeah.
And presumably something else.
Oh, Ambrose is more about like Jake Roberts style ring psychology and Randy Savage stuff, where he's got a bunch of stuff, but you don't really remember any of the stuff that he does so much as you saw a Dean Ambrose match, and it was awesome.
I remember his facial expression after he hits the move, not the move itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a little disappointed with that, but I'm not disappointed with Billy Gunn just getting crushed by them.
Yeah, and the Road Dogg. The final spot, they hit the triple powerbomb on both of the Outlaws at once.
So Reigns is holding the both of them?
Yeah.
That's
like
terrific.
one on each arm kind of thing, and just spikes them both down, pin, done.
That is great, because I find the triple powerbomb on one guy makes them kind of look weak.
Yeah.
You know, if you're fighting a Randy Orton, you don't need three guys to pick him up so one can put him down. Mm-hmm. Reigns is a big guy, he should be able to do it by himself. Well, I don't see why the pickup makes it worse.
My whole take on it has always been that it's not just that they're picking him up, it's also that they're spiking him. So it's a triple team, right? So if a double team move is like twice as powerful as like the standard move would be, then a triple team move should bloody well kill you.
I suppose. I guess it doesn't always come off that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the logic of it, and it makes sense, but yeah, seeing him do two, that's an impressive thing that I wouldn't be able to see him do by himself.
Yeah.
So, the next match was the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, a allegedly 30-man event.
Well, they made a big deal how like 3 of those peoples were not going to be announced until the event itself, and then never actually said who those 3 people were.
I don't think they were there. I had a little list. I was going through it. So Christian was hurt. He didn't make it in. The 3 mystery men, I don't know if any of them were there. Cesaro was entered.
Yeah. Jack Swagger was not.
Yeah, I guess it was just because Cesaro turned face in the pre-show that they decided to put him in the Battle Royal. But
Kofi had a great spot in it.
Yeah, definitely a very WrestleMania-worthy spot. He was thrown over the top rope, but his feet stayed on the steps. I don't know how he did that without shattering his ankles.
Yeah, we thought he was hurt when he. Okay, so who was he? Who threw him out? Because I don't remember who actually threw him out.
I want to say Show, but it was still pretty full at the time.
Yeah, so Kofi goes out. He goes out over one of the corners, and he lands on the steps leading into the ring, and he just sort of like turns and collapses as he goes down, and we're like, oh god, Kofi's dead. And then he goes, and we're like, oh god, he's pointing at his ankle is dead. And then we're like, oh wait, no, he's still in this match because it's a battle royal, so the only way to eliminate people is to toss them to the floor.
Both feet must touch the ground.
Yeah, and Kofi, both of his feet are still on these stairs, so he's fine.
He's going to run out of these things. He shouldn't waste it on WrestleMania. He needs to be thinking about next year's Rumble. Because I can't think of any more. And it's been that way for maybe 3 years. I'm like, oh, that's it. Yeah. He's just going to have to lose easily this time. Because he's pogo sticking on announced chairs, he's running on barricades, he stayed on someone's back one year. Yeah. He's going to have to just like run on corpses around the outside next year.
So we're going to bring out Taker then.
Yes.
Yeah. I absolutely did not care for this match at all. There was too much going on. Ring was too crowded. So you couldn't see what anybody was doing, except towards the end when you were down to like the final 8.
Well, that's the way these things always go. I mean, World War III's same problem. I agreed with you for the first 10 minutes of this match or so.
Yeah.
I thought it was really full. There was only one spot I noticed where, I think it was maybe Tyson Kidd, did just like a big front flip into the middle, hitting 3 or 4 people. It looked really unsafe.
Yeah. I remember that.
And yeah, beyond that, you couldn't really tell what was going on.
There was the Mark Henry moment where he was just he tossed like 2 or 3 guys out and then got eliminated himself.
Yeah, Show tossed him.
Yeah.
When it got down to about 5, 6 people, I started to really enjoy it.
Yeah. Then you started seeing more of the clever spots. You started seeing like the Kofi Kingston stuff then. And then it got down to Antonio Cesaro and Big Show.
Mm-hmm. And
wow.
Very, very impressive. They decided to do an homage to Mania 3 with Hogan Andre.
Yeah.
And had Cesaro straight up body slam Big Show out of the ring.
Not just body slam, but pick up, carry, and then throw out.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a BS Hogan style, almost hip toss sort of thing. A legitimate body slam up and over.
Yeah. Monstrously strong, Cesaro. And just his mobility and strength and everything he does.
In terms of functional strength, the strongest man on the roster. Your Big E's and Big Shows.
Your Cena's.
Those guys can lift more weights in the gym probably, but they couldn't lift that weight and spin it.
Yeah, like Cesaro is just ridiculous. I'm so glad that he's getting a main event push finally, and is like no longer holding the belt that allows him to job to Randy Orton.
Yeah, no, he's really something. Good promo as well, lots of charisma. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be the next sort of Daniel Bryan crowd-pushed guy.
Which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and Kofi had like this incredible flurry of offense after getting back in the ring. And then Pete also got eliminated. I don't remember who by, but Kofi's another guy who you should just push to the goddamn moon. And they always... Something always stops them from doing it.
They had that one time with him and Orton where it really felt like they were going to get behind him, where he wrecked up Orton's race car and all of that.
Yeah.
And he cut a few promos and it was starting to feel really good, and then they just forgot about it.
Yeah.
And he fell back into that lower mid-card, occasionally winning a US belt or something, but unfortunately I think he's stuck there.
Yeah, I really hope he breaks that particular glass ceiling, because I think he has a lot to offer the main event, and I'd like to see... Because I'd like to see more of him, because he's one of those guys that just works well with everybody, and he works on every possible level. He's like a Chris Jericho, in that he works, and it's another reason that I really dislike the ending of the brand split and the unification of the 2 world titles, because somebody like Kofi is a guy who's probably never going to get a proper world title shot as long as there's one title, because there's just too many guys on the roster. And as flashy as he is, he's just too easy to overlook. I'm really, really hoping that Cesaro does get like the Daniel Bryan push now, and does get a shot with the belt. Because, I mean, dude is amazing.
I think you'll see it. He's relatively young, 32, 33, something like that. So
he's in phenomenal shape. He's got a good look.
Assuming he stays healthy, I think it's inevitable that he gets there in the next 2 years.
I'd say even sooner, because Cesaro is pretty much everything that the E would like Orton to be. He's presentable as well. He doesn't really cause problems for anybody. There's no bad press associated with him. And he's intelligent, he's well-spoken, he can cut a promo, he's multilingual, because he does come from...
Switzerland.
Thank you. He does have the mass worldwide appeal. So there's just a lot going for him. And then when you have, like, Americans go, well, you're a foreigner, we don't like him, you just have to turn around and go, we the people. I love your country so much I moved here.
And if that doesn't work, he can always be, you know, the next Bret Hart, where he's loved some places, hated others, and you can see how easily that plays into some really, really interesting feuds.
Provided that, you know, creative can figure that out, which I don't have faith in these days.
Well, we can discuss it at the end. I mean, I think that the current creative regime is doing a lot better than the one of 3 years ago.
I'd say even like a month ago.
Well, just the Triple H era, such as it is, I think does pretty well, but we can discuss that as we go through the matches.
Yeah.
So our next match is John Cena and Bray Wyatt.
My match of the night.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was very glad to see John Cena not only so low in the card, but in a match that just makes sense on a character level. I believe 1,000,000% that if these are real people, that Bray Wyatt just dislikes the fact that John Cena exists, and they don't need a feud about a parking ticket or someone scuffed the other's shoes or anything like that. It's just, I don't like this guy because he represents everything I hate. Feud. And those are really the best kind in my view.
You are my antithesis on a philosophical and spiritual level, and I'm going to destroy you because of it. And just the psychology and the storytelling went into the match, like Bray getting down on his knees and being like, you can finish this now, John, you can finish this now, and Cena like getting under Cena's skin and making Cena lose his cool, and just watching that character skirt the edge and come so close to breaking down so many times, and Bray being very, very clear that that's what he wanted.
Oh, like it's a Batman Joker. You know, kill me, do it. And
I win.
Yeah.
I win. I might die, but I win.
No, I'm going to skip right to the end because that's, in my view, the important part.
Okay.
There is the spider spot,
which was, oh my god,
phenomenally good.
Bray is so damn good.
Yeah, John Cena goes off the ropes with a 5-knuckle shuffle, and Bray pops up into his little creepy spider
thing. He does this like reverse crawl where he looks like he's been possessed, and he's grinning the whole time.
It's really excellent.
Yeah. And Cena, to his credit, sells this like the scariest goddamn thing he's ever seen. So John Cena, like, his eyes go wide, and he just sort of like falls back, sits down, and is like, ugh.
Yeah, he scurries into the turnbuckles.
Where it's like, I don't want anything to do with this.
So Cena eventually hits an FU and wins. That was one of 2 issues I have of booking on this show.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense for me for Bray to win the first fall.
Yeah.
Because he's provoking all this stuff, and I feel the logical conclusion, or the logical next step in the story, is for Cena to be doubting himself and to sort of embrace the hate, to borrow a term.
Yeah.
And the sort of will he, won't he of that. To have him win immediately, he sort of exercises the demon right off the bat.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do with it after that, but I'm sure they're professional writers. The best money you can buy. And I'm sure it'll be compelling, whatever shows up.
Bray is definitely a main event player after this match, though. Like, again, just the psychology and the storytelling behind it was quite good. I love Bray's offense, because he just comes across as a crazy force of nature, just something that has gone horribly, horribly wrong. The crowd reaction to him as well was phenomenal.
The singing and the swaying hands, unreal.
Yeah. Like, just creepy, creepy bastard. And just totally plays the cult leader level to a thing that I haven't seen anybody manage before. Bray is fantastic. And he's actually like my favorite heel on the roster right now. I love him.
In terms of legitimate heel, I agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys who, play bad guys, but I just love them so much that I want to pat them on the back. Whereas a Bray Wyatt, I mean, not that I don't want to see him win, but he fulfills the role of a bad guy.
Yeah.
Where he
will never be... You cannot turn the Wyatt family face. The Wyatt family will not work as faces.
Well, those are two different statements.
Yeah.
One, you can't turn them face. The other, they won't work.
Yeah.
I agree with the second.
Yeah.
The first, I have no faith in. I think anyone that gets any sort of traction and in a smarky WrestleMania audience going against John Cena, you're going to get some babyface traction.
Yeah.
And they may turn them just to get in on that. Also, they say the name of the city now. They have that little insert before they say, and St. Louis, we're here. That is a babyface spot, and that's going to get them cheered.
But I'm thinking that it's because they're not strictly heels or faces in the traditional sense. The Wyatt family works on a level that's completely unique, and that they're not traditionally good or bad. They're crazy. Mm-hmm. There's something that has gone terribly, terribly wrong with these people.
They're not bad, but they're outsiders.
Yeah.
They're always... Triple H is a bad guy, but he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys don't care if they win or lose.
Yeah.
They don't have ring gear. They don't really have a moveset or any desire to win a title.
Like, storyline-wise, they probably don't even have contracts. Like, they just kind of show up, and things go wrong for everybody.
Nobody has the heart to tell them no.
Yeah. They're like Hunter Thompson when he worked at ESPN, where ESPN would just sort of send him a check in hopes that he would not show up. Like, that's sort of the way I see Bray, in that he's a force of nature that you just kind of have to deal with.
One thing related to this match, but at the beginning of it, Bray Wyatt's theme was played by a live band. I don't know the name of the band.
Mark Cruiser and something.
Yeah,
but
excellent performance. Worth checking out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, no.
So, my lock of the evening, the match that can only go one way, Undertaker and Brock Lesnar.
Oh, God.
Undertaker comes out, and there's 22 caskets lined up, each with the name of a previous victim. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they're going to get Triple H into 3 coffins, but that doesn't really matter, I suppose.
I'm okay with it.
CM Punk makes a small appearance in text form.
Yeah.
And then the final 20-second coffin opens up. It says Brock Lesnar on the side, bursts into fire.
Yeah.
All very cool stuff. Mm-hmm. Not his best entrance.
No. Probably his final one.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he's done, dude. Taker... Don't. I'm not impinging on Taker here. I have a world of respect for that guy. He's been one of my favorite wrestlers for a good long stretch, and pretty much since I was a kid. Taker did not look good tonight at all. He looked like he'd lost a lot of muscle mass and a lot of mobility. He looked like it hurt him to move. He couldn't
very slow.
Really hit any of his spots.
Well, I mean, he tried the old school twice, failed both times. He tried to do a last ride, dropped Brock.
Yeah.
There was one tombstone.
Yeah.
And was there a chokeslam?
Yes.
Okay.
Which Brock did on his own.
Right, yeah, I did the super big one.
Brock like totally sold it.
The antithesis of the Hogan chokeslam.
Yeah. Really.
But you're right, he looked very, very slow, very stiff, in pain. I imagine knees or hips or something bone-wise is wrong with him. He did take 3 F5s, which is impressive.
Brock beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah,
like just...
But even then, the Brock Lesnar match is about how sloppy Brock is and how he doesn't care if he hurts you.
Yeah.
That's the appeal. He's just gonna throw you around and land somewhere. It's not my problem anymore. Gravity's bitch now. And he obviously has too much respect for Undertaker, or Undertaker is too Samuel L. Jackson and Unbreakable to really take that sort of thing, and they had an agreement beforehand of don't kill me for real, it's just a story.
Like, I will butcher you in your sleep kind of thing.
Imagine just Undertaker Freddy Kruegering people.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Like Taker, I can just imagine, like, Brock is getting ready for the match, and suddenly the lights legit go out, and Taker is just, they come back on, and Taker's sitting directly across from him. It's just like, I know where your ranch is, and if you actually hurt me, I'm gonna show up at your ranch. And then the lights just die again, come back on, and there's like nothing there.
Maybe he blasts some lightning at him.
Yeah.
It's been too long since he shot lightning.
Yeah, I agree. If he had used the lightning, he would have won the match.
Well, we had Shao Kahn, maybe mix in a little bit of Raiden.
Yeah.
Have Glacier come in for a quick run-in. Be phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But yeah, so Brock won. The streak is over.
Yeah.
They sold it really well on a technical perspective.
Yeah.
So Brock pins Taker, 1, 2, 3. No music, no graphics. The bell doesn't ring immediately.
Yeah.
It's as if the whole production team was in disbelief.
Shocked.
The crowd reactions were
Like
the most entertaining part of WrestleMania.
Everywhere.
Dozens of them. It just kept cutting to more and more people after
just getting shocked.
90 seconds after the match is over. They're still just zombified.
Yeah. Well, the crowd was dead for like a good while afterwards because they were just stunned.
Yeah, I mean,
we were stunned. We were like, "What the fuck just happened?" Because I mean, the conventional wisdom is Undertaker is won for 21 straight victories at WrestleMania, so that's 21 years where this guy has beaten whoever has been put in front of him. And it's not over a 21-year period because there's been a couple of WrestleManias that he's missed here or there. So for about a quarter century now, this has been like the one given. Taker is going to win. And the other thing is that the booking team, the booking team are the people that actually like tell the stories. So the booking team has occasionally just fucked up the builds to WrestleManias completely, but they've always been able to rely on the streak to sort of sell it. Like, this person is challenging Undertaker and the match is going to be fantastic and Taker is going to win, but you want to see the journey, so buy the pay-per-view. And they can't do that now.
No, and Brock Lesnar looked really weak the whole way going up into it.
Yeah.
And that's another piece of traditional booking, is that whoever looks weak going into the show is the one that's going to end up winning, because it's a little turn. Brock Lesnar was terrified, got stabbed through the hand, chokeslammed through a table, scared by a casket, and run off by a bunch of druids. And then he wins. And it's just, oh, hey, we gotcha, because he looked really weak, but then he won. Yeah. Fuck that. If you're going to have Brock Lesnar, a part-timer, beat a guy who's been there for...
forever.
You know, how long has he actually been around? 25, 26 years?
Since 1990.
Okay, so 24 years. He's got 21 wins at Mania, and this part-timer comes in with a lot of legitimate credentials.
A lot of legitimate credentials, but here's the other thing.
But UFC champions aren't scared of caskets. Yeah. He should have rolled the casket down. Brock said, fuck this, F5 the casket, just beat up druids. 100 security guards come out to stop him.
Yeah.
And he's frothing at the mouth and freaking out.
Yeah.
And then if he beats The Undertaker, now you're taking Brock Lesnar serious. If he's scared of ghosts, and then he happens to win, not as much.
Yeah. Here's the other trick, is that Brock wrestles 3 matches a year. That's his contract. So now you've got a guy who wrestles 3 matches a year beating The Undertaker. And this is a guy who walked out on a multi-million-dollar contract. They bent over backwards to keep him back at WrestleMania 20. And he's been gone for the better part of 8 years. He came back effectively because his UFC career was over and he needed the money. He wrestles 3 matches a year. You have Taker, who admittedly at this point is wrestling 1 match a year, but Taker is still Taker. He never left.
Was Taker.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he never left, you're right.
Yeah, he never left, he never went anywhere, he's been completely loyal to the company, and we were talking about how traditionally, you know, you when you're done, you go out on your back.
Mm-hmm.
You don't put Taker out on his back at Mania.
I think you absolutely do.
But against Lesnar?
No, not against Lesnar. I think, you know, Cesaro a year from now.
Yeah.
Or, you know, John Cena. Someone who's guaranteed going to be there day in, day out for the long haul.
Daniel Bryan.
Sure.
Would have been great.
I mean, it wouldn't work for this year, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I would have said CM Punk, but...
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You put their faith in the wrong guy, and then all that heat just walks right out the door.
Well, the thing with Punk was the booking team, which... Like, I kind of see where Punk was going with that, and I don't think we would have actually gotten the Daniel Bryan stuff with CM Punk still in the company.
No, you'd have Brian Sheamus.
Yeah.
And you'd have Orton Batista. Yeah.
So,
feel the snores.
Thank you, CM Punk. we appreciate you leaving, but please come back, because we miss you. At least I do.
Yeah, I miss you too.
Yeah.
It's the 2 of us. That's enough, right?
Yeah.
Should be.
Please?
We'll be punching pie. But yeah, I think the streak, there's too much potential heat there for it to just dissipate into the ether.
Yeah.
Someone should beat him, and that should be retirement, but it is something that should be teased.
Yeah.
You should say, the next man to beat me at WrestleMania, or the first man to beat me at WrestleMania, that's the end of my career, that's it.
Done.
I'm completely done, I'm hanging up the boots. You compare this to Ric Flair and how he retired the first time. And he was just in impossible match after impossible match, and he was squeaking out these victories, but you knew it couldn't go on forever.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everyone sort of knew that Shawn Michaels was the guy that was going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it happened, but it was really, really emotional, and it worked beautifully because of all that setup. It wasn't just a match that
was
built.
Yeah. Right? It's the climax to his story.
It's not a post-facto, oh, by the way, you're retired now.
Well, look at Shawn Michaels, even Shawn Michaels' Undertaker, where, he lost the 1 year at Mania and then spent an entire year talking about how he wanted another crack at it and he was willing to put his career on the line and, this was his dream and he was going to embody the forces of light, and you had the beautiful thing with, Shawn coming down from on high and Taker coming out from below and, battle of light and darkness and just, awesome mythic stuff. And that was a great build.
Mm-hmm. You
wasn't.
can't just have the consequence.
No.
Half of me is convinced that Vince McMahon was told that day about what Game of Thrones was and how it was competing with WrestleMania. It's like, oh, what is this show? Oh, it's this show where they kill off everyone's favorite characters suddenly. It's like, oh, when people watch this? Will they watch instead of Mania? We should do something like that. Next thing you know, Taker's gone forever. You should start coming out to that.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar's new theme.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was not a great match, but holy shit did it kill the crowd. I was watching with a dozen people. There was a Divas match that came right after this. Nobody was interested.
Yeah.
And then to prove a point, we weren't interested in the main event for about half of it either.
Yeah. AJ Lee is awesome.
Yes.
The Bellas actually hit a bunch of spots and looked really crisp tonight.
I will have to take your word for it, as this was cigarette break number 2 for me.
Okay.
And again, I saw the very end of this match, but...
okay. The Bellas hit stereo suicide dives.
Okay.
Which, was a really good spot. You had them hitting a couple of different double team moves and doing a bunch of stuff that you just don't associate the Divas with. So they looked really good tonight. You had Xana and I can't remember the name of the cheerleader, the Funkadactyl, who got her eye crushed. Was it
Cameron?
Cameron.
No,
you had
not Cameron. Naomi.
Naomi. Thank you, producer.
Yeah.
A lot of really good spots towards the end of this match. At the beginning, they sort of played on the hatred of AJ and Tamina and how they'd sort of been dominating everybody. And AJ was the only one to get an actual entrance, so you sort of knew she was walking out with the belt. Which, to be fair, she should be, because she's the best actual wrestler on the roster, on the main roster at any rate. You got a couple of things from Emma, which I'm always happy to see, but the crowd doesn't care about Emma. And the reason the crowd doesn't care about Emma is because she's brought her character from NXT without actually building her character on the main roster. So
it really feels that way.
Yeah.
As someone who's sporadically watched NXT, I haven't seen that much of it. I'm aware of the little dance, but it really feels like doing it in an intimate setting with people that have seen a lot of it. It gets over very easily, and then you take it to an arena, where it's 15,000 people, and they're just not interested. And you take it to an arena with 90,000 people, and they just don't care at all.
Well, it's not even that, it's built, right? Because it's all character based, it's all story. So with the NXT crowd, they didn't give a shit at first either. But they built it over the span of weeks and gave it context. And when you've got the context, suddenly it becomes a cute thing. When they just sort of shove it out with no explanation of who this person is or why we're supposed to care, why the fuck do we care?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the handful of people who are familiar with NXT and know who the character is already, and they're down. But you dilute that with a ton of people who have not seen her before and don't get behind the quirky gimmick.
Yeah.
It's a lot tougher than something like Rusev, where you understand immediately the entire depth
of his character.
Yeah, all 2 inches of it. So like, oh, he's big and foreign, and he's going to be mean. He doesn't even speak English. Holy shit!
He's just going to crush people and make them humble. Like break their backs, make them humble, and he's not even going to speak a word of English. He's got a translator for that.
He did that one week. He spoke English briefly, and then he promptly forgot it again.
Yeah, which I'm okay with.
Very wise. So AJ wins. Yeah,
which was the only real possible outcome. You could have had like either of the Bellas win it.
I was really thinking it was going to be Summer Rae.
Yeah.
Just based off of her being major in the Total Divas show.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to, as part of a Total Divas storyline, give her the belt, so all the veterans can be mad about how they gave some new girl the belt on the other show.
Yeah.
But now they decided to actually go with a regular wrestling angle, and the champion retains.
Yeah.
Apparently Vicky's done though.
Yes, I heard that.
So no more Vicky Guerrero.
Which, you know, is sad, but thank you, Vicky. You were entertaining.
It shows that the Guerrero heat gene is transferable by marriage.
Yeah. You were very good. We appreciated your time with us. AJ is fantastic. I really love the Black Widow. I hope we get like an actual Naomi AJ match at some point, like a one-on-one thing. That's really all I have to say about this.
Yeah, no, Naomi's great. I would like to see her be pushed up, but that's a problem with tag teams, you know? You're always saddled with the other one, so the two of them have to break up first before she can move up.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you know, you had like Bret Hart go off and do his own thing without having to really break up with Jim the Anvil.
No, fair enough.
And you had like Owen do the same thing with Jim the Anvil.
And I suppose,
I suppose if you're tagging with Jim the Anvil Neidhart, you can just go off and do your own thing. Nobody cares.
Well, too bad she's not tagging with Natty then.
Yeah, really.
So, much like the Bray Wyatt match, Randy Orton is played in by a band, a substantially worse band. The singer, I'm not sure if he was lip syncing or if he was singing incredibly softly but trying to sound like he's yelling. It was a little off. Something was going on there.
He was not very good. They were not very good.
No.
Which
yet they're very appropriate for Randy Orton.
Yes. You know, if I was going to like something about Randy Orton, it would be the theme music. And I'm not actually saying that I like anything about Randy Orton, because I don't. But if there was something to like, it would be the music.
It's a theoretical.
Yeah. I actually went to the bathroom during the entrance of Batista and Orton, because I just didn't care. And came back in time to see Daniel Bryan his way down.
Well, you missed a very slow walk from Randy Orton, and you missed Batista doing his power squat with no pyro. Which, I mean, it's an embarrassing thing for him and us and everybody when there is pyro. Even at Mania, you know, you spend $15,000 on colored explosives and he's there just rocking a deuce.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see it, but I get it. Yeah. But when he does it, and there's
no
nothing, not even people booing or cheering or anything, people were not very interested. Everyone was still super depressed from Undertaker.
Yeah.
So there was a very dead crowd. He's there, and just nothing at all. Just the sound of saliva. It was not great.
And his terrible, terrible entrance music.
I get it.
Yeah.
Brian comes out to as much cheering as people can muster from their broken hearts. This was your classic triple threat. It reminded me a lot, in more ways than one, of Hunter Michaels Benoit from Mania 20.
You mean Stevie Richards?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Benoit, who's that?
Yeah.
They beat up Brian early,
yeah.
They threw him out. They had what would have been your main event, had CM Punk not quit.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Punk. That was fairly slow. There wasn't too much to it.
The crowd didn't care at all?
No. Well, it was a terrible combination. Like I say, they were still very depressed, and it's the two guys that have no interest in.
Yeah.
It's the two lumps of meat that the hero has to deal with.
Yeah. The hero has to work around kind of thing.
Yeah.
They did have the one really cool spot off the table with the Batista bomb into the RKO.
Yeah, that was very good. That looked ruthlessly painful.
Yeah.
So Batista picks up Brian for a powerbomb. As he sends him down through the Spanish announce table, Orton hits him with the RKO. These guys spent 5 minutes clearing off the table, being very, very nice about it. Dave Genius Mensa Batista takes one of these heavy, sharp production monitors and just drops it underneath the table. The very same table that Randy Orton's back was going through a few seconds later. And he takes his RKO, small of his back, right in this monitor. He's bleeding from his back. It looked horrific.
Horrifically painful.
Props to Orton. He got up
and
quicker than I would have.
Yeah.
I would have gone to the hospital with Undertaker. I would not be walking.
Yeah, I've got Orton, to his credit, took this horrific bump, is like bleeding like a bastard from the small of his back, and just keeps going.
Yeah.
So, more power to Orton for that.
He didn't even sell it very much.
Yeah.
He was up, he was limping a little bit.
Yeah.
But he was up and about pretty quickly.
Yeah. He sold people's offense, but he didn't sell the actual agony he had to be in.
Yeah, no.
Which...
Fake pain, yes. Real pain, no.
Yeah.
Only in wrestling.
Credit to him for that. We got Triple H and Stephanie doing the run-in.
Yeah, they ran in, they brought a sledgehammer and a crooked referee.
Yeah.
And all sorts of good times. And I would also like to give credit to Triple H. This is the man who historically has been known to have a very large ego and a very high opinion of himself. And he also has creative control. And he made himself look like an absolute jabroni.
Yeah.
He comes out adorned in all this stuff, gets beaten. He comes back with his signature weapon and a crooked referee. Bryan just takes the sledgehammer away from him and clunks him with it.
In the face.
Nobody does that.
Yeah,
I mean, Batista has to wrestle it away in a 20-minute match. He's I'll do that. Boof. And then he scurries away with his wife chasing him.
Well, remember, we also got the suicide dive into the crooked referee, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon. And I thought Stephanie McMahon had actually, broken her ankle.
Oh, those shoes,
Yeah.
Now, I was really secretly hoping for a running knee to Steph at some point. I think that would have popped the crowd like no other.
Oh my god, yes.
It's a PG era. I don't think we can have that anymore. So the match ends with Daniel Bryan tapping out Dave Batista.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he won the title.
Yeah.
2 belts, 1 title.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of yes chanting and confetti, but nobody's heart was really into it because they were all still sad about the Undertaker.
And to be honest, I think we got Daniel Bryan kicking out of every goddamn thing under the sun tonight, which was great. He kicked out of Batista bombs, he kicked out of RKOs, he kicked out of every goddamn you could have dropped a nuclear missile on his forehead, and he would have kicked out of it. It was pretty great. It actually, you brought up WrestleMania 20, and I kind of want to compare and contrast the two of them.
Okay.
In that WrestleMania 20, from top to bottom, everything had been booked months in advance. You had stuff going all the way back to the previous WrestleMania. In some cases, you had every match on that card mattered. The crowd was into everything because there was build to it, and this felt really thrown together last minute.
Well, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, when CM Punk left, which was 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
8 weeks ago? You had a completely different card.
Mm-hmm.
You had Orton Batista main event, you had Triple H, CM Punk, you had Sheamus, Bryan.
Yeah, and you had John Cena and Wyatt.
Cena Wyatt was the only one that stuck around.
Yeah.
And there was 70 wrestlers on this show.
Yeah.
And, I mean, of the 30 guys in the Battle Royal, how many had storylines?
You had a couple of guys with storylines going into it, but by and large, not much.
The only one I remember was Big Show. I kind of look like Andre the Giant. They called me the Giant in WCW, therefore I should win. Ditto for the Divas match. You had the Tamina AJ beef.
Yeah, but you also
had a few peripheral things, but it wasn't, this match is about these people having the final conflict. It's we're throwing everyone in the title. And
well, the other, but in terms of just the idea of a build where things actually mattered, it just didn't feel like anything on this card was built with the exception of Daniel Bryan which never would have happened without the crowd, like, basically threatening to walk out.
That was not built by the creative team.
Yeah.
That was sort of eventually accepted by the creative team.
In spite of the creative team.
Yeah, and I mean, it ended up working out really well, because it feels very legitimate, because it is. That was not the plan, and, you know, people power, to borrow a phrase, made that happen. As such, it felt good, it felt organic, but you're right. Brock was after the title last month, because he was the #1 contender, and I just sort of fell to the wayside, so he's going to fight Taker instead. Bray Cena, there was a build. The 4 tag teams, nothing. Shield, sort of.
Really.
They turned on Kane arbitrarily.
Like 2 weeks ago, maybe.
But it's certainly not a 6 months building.
No build. Like,
I want to say something. I'm going to regret it. I'm never going to say it again.
Okay.
I'm going to find the copy of this tape and delete it and burn the piece of the internet that it's on. They need to get someone like Vince Russo. Someone who will make sure that everyone on the card has a story. They need someone like Vince who will edit 95% of those stories and say, no, you can't do that. Like, Judy Bagwell doesn't belong on a pole.
Yeah.
But something.
There was a guy, I can't remember his name, but just like a super humble guy who took over for most of the booking and creative after Russo left. And remember that after Russo left is when the Attitude Era really sort of hit its stride, and everything on the card mattered. They need that guy, or a guy like him, who recognizes the value in building up an undercard, and, you know, sort of a higher undercard, and then your actual card. Because, like, for the vast majority of the past 6-7 years, I'm watching for the undercard. Because I don't give a rat's ass about what the main event guys are, particularly anything involving Randy Orton.
And yeah, the undercard, you have the occasional interesting character. You know, your Damien Sandows and Dolph Ziggler's and guys that are great.
And then they don't fucking push them.
Yeah, well, not only do they not push them, there's nothing for them to really do in a storyline sense, so there's no good reason for people to get behind them. You know, I will love Dolph Ziggler because he sells like a madman. I love Damien Sandow because he uses big words.
And he's got great offense.
No, I mean,
and he's got great defense. I mean, they're both fantastic workers.
There's lots of reasons why he's great, but I'm saying that half or more of the fans in the audience, if there's not a storyline with these guys, they're not interested.
Why do I care?
I mean, look at the Rhodes brothers. How hot were they 2-3 months ago when they had a big storyline? How hot are they tonight? They were in the thing. They got shocked. No real consequence. And
that's kind of WrestleMania 30 in a nutshell.
That's WrestleMania 30.
I remember the entirety of the WrestleMania card, top to bottom, and every storyline that went with it. I actually had to write down the WrestleMania 30 card, and I mean, we just watched it an hour and a half ago.
The one thing I will say is that it does give me some hope for the future, in that, with the exception of John Cena, which I still don't understand, it was the new guys establishing themselves. Guys like Cesaro, guys like Daniel Bryan, they are saying, in both cases, you know, the Attitude Era is over, the sort of brand split era is on its way out. And here's the new guys that are going to be stepping in and filling these shoes. I mean, even AJ, I mean, she's only been around for a couple years, and she's beating, I guess, I was going to say people that are more veteran than her, but she's near the top of the pile of that now. But yeah, I think this is the sort of thing that 2-3 years from now, we'll be seeing a lot of these same guys in much more prominent roles.
Here's
Mania 32, 33, 34.
Yeah. Cesaro's an absolute beast, and so I desperately want to see more of him.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
And with all that, I am Pete.
Aaron Golden.
And this is the 3 Count. Good night.
As quick as the Taker match's result killed the crowd.
I assume you're rolling.